Calling to order Historic Landmarks Commission, September 4th, 2019. So we'll start off with item A, public comment.
It's a good place to start.
Yep. Seeing no one, I will close public comment and on.
Mr. Chair, we received some general correspondence.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yep. So we received general correspondence from Anna Marie Gott, which you all received, and from the AIA Santa Barbara. All right, and now we'll close public comment. And on to item B, approval of the minutes of the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting August 21st, 2019.
So moved.
Moved by Drury. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vina. All right, under discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
did we not say something about when people speak, for the following individual spoke, was there not some sort of did we not want to have
What they spoke.
what they were speaking about?
I think we,
Yeah,
staff
so
can.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Drury, staff is not interpreting what the member of the public said. If they write on the speaker slip, there's a little box, either support or oppose. If they check that, we will include that in the minutes, but we won't interpret what they said in their public comment.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Mahan.
on page 11, the motion, item 7,
Hold on 1 second.
I think we should add to the end of that sentence. It says, add a door on the north side of the garage, and I think we should add to access trash area.
Okay.
To what again, please?
Access trash area.
Oh, yeah,
Access
okay.
trash
Yep.
area.
I'm sorry, which page is this?
Page 11, motion, or condition 7 of item 12. Item 12 at the very bottom. Add a door to the north side of the garage to access trash area. All right.
Mr. Chair, on that same item, 1202 Diana Road, the motion says project design approval with the following conditions and findings, and I know it wasn't specified at the hearing, but would you like the project to return to the full commission or to the consent calendar?
I think it would definitely be
Consent.
consent, yes. I think that was our, anyone else remember any differently? I think it was pretty, we had
Pretty well
pretty,
done. Pretty
yeah,
well
pretty
done.
well
Yep,
closed
I
up.
agree.
Okay. 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 Any other changes, adjustments? Now's your chance. All right. All right, so with those amendments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain?
Abstain. Abstains.
Okay, Uli and House abstain. Motion carries. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, on to item C, approval of the consent calendar, September 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All items today were reviewed by Commissioner Mahan and Commissioner Vena. Item A, 1822 Santa Barbara Street, was given project design approval and final approval. Item B, 1332 Santa Barbara Street, received project design approval and final approval with conditions. Item C, 336 West Cabrillo Boulevard, was granted project design approval and final approval with conditions. Item D, 1325 State Street, was granted project design approval and final approval. And item E, 834 State Street, was continued indefinitely. And item F, 1555 Alameda Padre Serra, was postponed 2 weeks due to the applicant's absence.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar with item E continued indefinitely and item F postponed 2 weeks.
Second.
All right, second by Uli. Under discussion. For curiosity, if we can get a little bit of a report on the conditions for item B and C.
Sure. So, Mr. Chair, for item B, 1332 Santa Barbara Street, the conditions, the project was for a minor zoning exception for hedge heights. And the project is located at Santa Barbara Street and Sola Street. So the following conditions were applied. As noted on the plans, approval is granted to permit the existing hedge heights as follows. The hedge height for Santa Barbara Street shall be a maximum 6 foot in height from the intersection until the edge of the building, where the hedge height may extend up to a maximum 12 foot in height to offer appropriate screening and privacy. At Sola Street, the height shall be a maximum 6 foot in height from the intersection to the edge of the building, where the height may extend up to a maximum 8 foot in height. The driveway triangles shall be maintained at a maximum 3'6" in height.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Mahan.
Yeah, what we did, Commissioner Vena and I, we didn't permit any raising of hedges as they exist today. And we believe that the visibility of the building is maintained, and we reduced the height of the hedge on Sola Street from 12 feet to 8 feet.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner House?
On item E, if I recall from reading the minutes from the previous meeting, the applicant was a no-show, and did they show up this time? And
Yes. So, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair House, the applicant was not present at the last hearing. That's the reason why it was rescheduled, and I can read the comments for the continued indefinitely if you'd like to hear those.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the junction box and cable conduit installed without a permit on the street-facing facade and encroaching in the public right-of-way is not aesthetically acceptable and impacts the streetscape for the building located in El Pueblo Viejo. Either relocate the equipment to the interior of the building, which will not require HLC review as the equipment will be inside the building, or study an alternative solution that will soften or screen the equipment from the streetscape.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question regarding
Yes.
item F,
Commissioner.
1555 Alameda Padre Serra.
Yes.
I think this is the one that we had public comment about, that we were...
We did. There was public comment.
Okay. I'm just curious. This one was postponed, right?
Postponed, yeah. No-show. It was a no-show.
A no-show. Was there any discussion about
No.
their request? Okay.
There was no discussion. It wasn't opened because there was no applicant
Okay.
present.
Okay. Did the neighbors show up?
Nobody was there.
Nobody was there? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. On to announcements, requests by applicants for continuance, withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two announcements. Nicole Hernandez will be absent from today's meeting. Also, I did mention this at the last meeting, but just as a reminder, there will be a joint design review advisory group training with the Architectural Board of Review and Single Family Design Board next on Friday, September 13th from 1 to 5 p.m. in the David Gebhard Public Meeting Room. It will be recorded, so there will be a tape of that. However, we do suggest that all members attend if they're able to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that date?
September 13th from 1 to 5 p.m.
Friday, the 13th?
Yes.
Yes.
Lucky day. Mr. Chair?
Well planned. All right. Yes.
Can you say everybody's
Commissioner
supposed to attend that?
Yes, Commissioner Mann, everyone is supposed to attend unless they have some prohibiting circumstance, for example, a vacation where they can't,
Appendicitis.
something.
It's got to be real, though.
That'll be a full
Here,
house.
Number 13.
Yes.
And
There we
David
go.
Gebhard.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
it
Commissioner
is in
House?
this meeting room.
7, 14, and 9.
Probably
23
sit on
people.
both sides of the table.
Oh, yeah, we're
I will be absent for the next meeting. I'll be out of town.
okay. Thank you. And sorry, what was Commissioner Mahan? What were you saying?
I was just joking.
Oh, okay. We'll have none of that.
Or share it with everybody.
Okay. Any other announcements? Announcements. Okay. On to subcommittee reports. Item E.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Mahan.
Kevin Moore and I met Thursday after the last meeting to talk about awards. The other members of the committee were not there. However, he informed me that Richard Six wants to be on the committee for the ABR. I talked to Fred Sweeney, and he said that he's working on getting 2 people from the Single Family Design Board to be involved in it, and they're interested, but they haven't been able to make the meeting yet. So we're kind of spinning our wheels until we can pull these people all together. We're planning to meet a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
At Kevin Moore's office at 10 o'clock. Mr. Drury is invited.
I'll be there.
All right. Thank you, both of you, for your help with that. Okay. So, any other subcommittee reports?
Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Commissioner Drury.
The sign committee met last Tuesday, and we saw the final iteration of the wayfinding program for the Museum of Art. And it was really a beautiful presentation, spiral bound, and we had massaged it 2 weeks earlier, and they did what we asked, and it's in the building somewhere. And I was going to bring it, but I can't find Will. Nobody can seem to find Will Russell, who's our liaison. So if it comes into the room, we can just put it on the table after these agendized items, and you see
It finds its way.
Yeah, we a lot of neon. And,
4 feet tall.
yeah, and really big letters. And yes. Anyway, but it's a really well done program, and
Okay.
I'd like
But
you
it's
guys
a
to
traditional
I'd
font.
like you guys to see it.
All right. Sounds good. If
The
it comes
appropriate
in-
font, of course.
Yes,
Mr.
traditional.
So the wayfinding program is lost?
It's in the building somewhere.
We should get
find
a
its
sign
way.
for it on the outside. Okay. Any other subcommittee reports?
You've probably heard either directly by email or maybe in the press that the Coast Village Road, Olive Mill Road roundabout is making its way through the design process. You know, they've got a number of boards to go to, and they're now in that process. I'm sure eventually it will land here.
All right.
That'll be good.
Thank you.
Do we have any purview? Because I seem to remember there was a joint meeting between MBAR and the city ABR.
We do have jurisdiction because I sat on that subcommittee.
Oh, okay.
Because we're, well.
They're
come on.
landmarks
You're a
involved.
museum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll run it. Okay. Any other subcommittees reports? All right. Okay. So, on to item 1. Are we at the right time? Yeah, we're 5 minutes ahead. All right. Item 1, discussion on non-discrimination/harassment policy. All right.
Take one of each and pass down, please. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Gorman. I am the City Clerk Services Manager, and I am going to each of the advisory groups, either me or someone from Human Resources, and we are presenting the non-discrimination and harassment policy and employee complaint procedure. You should be getting one copy of the policy coming down the line for you, and also
Excuse me.
one receipt. It's a one-page acknowledgement. So I will read to you a couple definitions from the policy, and then you'll have the receipt acknowledgement in front of you. If you would like to sign it and return it to me today, that's great. If you'd like to take it home and sign it later and return it to staff afterwards, that's fine also. And we're going around to each of the advisory groups making the same presentation. I don't think I've seen any of you guys at a previous presentation. Well, very good. So to briefly talk about the definition of discrimination under the policy, discrimination prohibited under this policy is discrimination in the terms, conditions, privileges, or prerequisites of employment based on the actual or perceived age over 40, ancestry, color, mental or physical disability, including HIV and AIDS, sex, gender identity and expression, marital status, medical condition, cancer or genetic characteristics, national origin, race, religious belief, or sexual orientation of an employee or job applicant, or based on the employee or applicant's association with a person who has or is perceived to have any of those characteristics. I'll also talk about the different types of harassment that are discussed in the policy. Discusses sexual harassment, harassment on the basis of any other protected characteristic, and inappropriate behavior. So I'm here for any questions. If you'd like to give me the acknowledgement now, that's great. If not, you can take it home. Any questions?
That was
So we
quick.
can discriminate under 39, right?
I would advise against it.
And we can just,
There is a loophole there.
we can discriminate up to September 23rd.
Oh, that's right.
Very good. Yes, I'm delightedly, that was the advantage of turning 40, like, woohoo, another protected class. Amused myself and nobody else. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any questions? Okay.
Just a minute, I haven't signed it yet.
Still thinking.
Yeah. You have mine already. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so we are done with item 1, but we are a little too early for item 2, and there's no one here, so we will go into a short recess and try to keep up our
Did you
spirits.
say that
There's
thing
some
was from
sugar
1
over
to
here.
5?
Okay.
Sugar over here.
Get a sugar high, sugar and caffeine high, and go from there. All right.
Thank you.
All right, calling back to order Historic Landmarks Commission, September 4th, 2019. We're on to item 2. This is for review after final. Oh, come on. Oh. Fell down. All right, let's try that again. Okay, item 2, review after final approval for 522 State Street. This is review after final is requested to eliminate the wrought iron fencing and replace with green screen, replace the majority of concrete with granulated granite, revise the sloping roof to a flat roof on the storage shed, and reconfigure the lighting and seating layout. Project was last reviewed on May 15th, 2019. All right. And do we have any comments from staff to kick us off?
No, Mr. Chair. This project was previously approved by this board and is returning for approval of review after final. The applicant will go over what has changed in the project scope. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, please state your names to the record.
Joe Androlitis with Androlitis Mixon Architects, and I have with me today Roger Smith from Institution Ale. So we're back here again. Roger went and priced out our approved design, and it's become in way over budget for what he wants to do at that site. So we really want to make this happen for Roger, obviously, and for the community, because it's a space that's been long neglected. And so we've kind of put our heads together and looked for some cost-saving techniques that can, I think, alleviate some of your concerns and bring the costs down. So when I was thinking of this space and other spaces around town, what came to mind for me was the open space at De La Guerra Plaza Adobe, which is this really simple, understated open space with DG on the ground and a couple simple trees in the space. And I think what we're trying to do at that space is make it feel like this when it's activated. So here's the same space with lights, with tables, with outdoor heaters and whatnot, an active, welcoming space that you'd walk by and, much like you'd see a European cafe down an alley or something. That's the type of feel, really family-oriented space that accepts dogs and little kids to play on the grass area and the cornhole court and stuff like that. So that was kind of like coming back to, the roots of what we're trying to do there. So if you look at the plan, and apparently I'm not allowed to update it, but so to go without the updated plan.
So as a
Ms. Palmer?
clarification, you can't use those set of plans. You can say,
Yeah.
what you would have proposed, but we have to use the ones that were previously submitted.
I'll make it work. So what we did was we want to significantly reduce the amount of concrete. That was one of the major elements. We had the whole, 80% of the space is covered in colored, scored concrete. So we'd like to make it all DG, but we can't do it all DG because we got to deal with accessibility. So the approach here was to increase the lawn area and the play area with additional cornhole court and then some open seating with Adirondack chairs. Simplify the trees. I think we had 4 trees there before. I'd like to go with 1 magnolia tree, a 36-inch box. Just a nice big tree that will grow fast over time in that space. And then just a simple walk to the serving area that would link the entrance on State Street along with the entrance along this Paseo. We moved this entrance slightly closer to the serving booth to not have this kind of odd turn to get into there. So we kind of simplified that. The same tables and chairs that we had before and seating. We do have outdoor heaters. We had a long fire pit. We've changed those to 2 circular fire pits. And then another big ticket item that came back was all the wrought iron along the perimeter. So you were brainstorming out ways to alleviate that. And what I thought was using this green screen product. Here's a sample This would be the proposed color. So the way this works is it basically serves as a medium for vines to grow on it. It's only 3 inches thick. It's got a 2-inch grid. And the idea with that is the green screen would span between the plaster columns, and we would plant, would I have evergreen clematis? Is that how you say that?
Limited. Yeah.
Clematis vine to fill that screen. So over time, quickly, you wouldn't even see the screen. You would see just a vine that is just, held up by the grid system underneath as a skeleton, essentially. So we'd keep the original wrought iron gates that we've originally designed. And then we want to revisit the string lighting. I've gone around town and looked at a lot of venues, Santa Barbara Historical Museum, De La Guerra Adobe, backyard patios and restaurants. And there's a number of places that have the string lights. And I think it's the most effective way of lighting the space. And I know your concerns about the bare bulbs, so we did find, it's probably the last page here, no? Where did it go?
Not very good.
In here?
No,
No.
I have it in my package. Well, they have hoods on them. And I don't know why they're not in this. Oh, wait, it's right here. It's right in front of me. So it's this kind of light. So they're actually copper hoods. They'd be about 4 feet on center. These strings are about 35 feet long. So you're looking at 7 lights per string. On the plan that I can't present, I show the location of the lights. So that would be the change in the lighting. The lighting at the columns at each entrance would remain, and the lighting on the buildings would remain. Other thing we also are revising is we had, and I actually think this is an improvement, because before this little shed had a little sloped roof on it, and we decided to make it a flat roof with a simple parapet, tiled parapet that undulates like this. I actually like that better than what we had before. So. What I haven't shown here is I would need a leader box and downspout for the drainage, which I'm going to show on the ends. So this is the green screen that you see. That's the 2-inch grid. I'm proposing the bronze color. It also comes in green and black. I thought bronze is the most appropriate. The posts, I think we needed additional posts that we hadn't shown before along the south elevation. So we have these 3, and then we'll have 3 further back. 1, 2, 3 here. Full height posts that would support the light string on this side, so we're not attaching to the building. Some additional, we simplified the seating. We have more kind of bar seating along the perimeter. And we are still keeping kind of scored concrete at these entrances, but this concrete in the middle would just be simple gray concrete with 4-foot score joints. And I think we got the magnolia tree. The ground cover here remains the same in front of the vine. I mentioned the bigger lawn area, the same type of lawn we're proposing. Oh, the Adirondack chairs. I have a cut sheet of that. Here are the heaters. These are the same heaters in front of Rogers store on State Street.
And we're eliminating seating.
And we are reducing the seating. Here's the vine. And here's kind of not your traditional Adirondack chair. It's got a little different detail on it, which I thought was more appropriate. And I think I've covered everything, so that concludes my presentation.
All right, great, thank you. All right, now we'll open public comment. We have 1 speaker slip. What's that? No, we do questions after. So if you could go to the podium there.
I have something to show, so I actually need to be at
You can,
the camera.
Actually, you can go to the podium, and I believe you can hand what you want shown to staff, and then we can present it up
So, if the commission wants to see something physically where you can ask her to come up. Otherwise, public comment is given at the podium. So it's
here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Moving.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you. All right.
So, you want to move this, but I don't know if they can zoom in on that.
All right. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have
Anna
2
Marie,
minutes.
Anna Marie Gott. So one of the things I just want to remind everyone that these used to be planted trees, and now we're going to have something that's boxed. We're going back and actually reverting to basically the same plan that was originally panned by this board in April. More importantly, if you actually look at the EPV guidelines, this project really is not meeting it. I mean, we're now going to have green screen that will take some time in which to actually grow out. It will be a perfect habitat for rats. If you think about, we're actually going to have gravel now instead of concrete that can actually be washed. People are going to drop things, and it is going to be a perfect environment to actually breed rodents who will live exactly where I just said in the green screen, because they will be able to easily get in and out and be protected. You should not actually be looking at the cost for this particular development. This development was approved previously with wrought iron. That is what you should be looking at. More importantly, in the very first meeting, the applicant said that they were going to be bolting things to the Scientology building. I've spoken to the manager at the Scientology building. They do not want anything bolted in the terms of lights to their building. So that is going to be a problem. More importantly, I don't believe that anyone actually considered all of the issues with this particular project. And did anyone actually receive the deemed complete letter that would have told them possible issues that you would need to be watching out for? I don't think anyone actually received it, considered it, or thought about the alcohol license. I've learned a little bit about alcohol licenses. These people are going to include the Paseo in their license premise diagram. While the city may prohibit patrons from actually walking into the Paseo with alcohol, they are not prohibiting the waiters and waitresses from doing that. We already know that our enforcement in the city is lackluster.
Mr.
So what
Chair,
is
we're
going
well
to
over the
happen?
2 minutes.
Okay.
We will actually have that. If you would take the time to look at the headers of my email, of my letter, I would appreciate it, because there's a lot of other things. But most importantly,
I think
the
we're
plans,
going to have to stop now.
the plans, there's an important thing that Pilar actually said, the plans
I'm sorry.
are
We're
not
gonna have to
able to
stop
be
now.
approved today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other member from the public wishing to comment? All right. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and back to the commission for questions. Commissioner Uli.
I have no questions.
Okay. Commissioner Drury.
Mr. Chair, so I'm wondering, we have continued 2 weeks with comments for 2019. So I'm wondering if it was approved, or if these comments reflect the wish of the commission. Study the spring lights as they are currently not acceptable in El Pueblo Viejo. Additional trees are desired to provide screening and to soften the design.
Sorry, just to
So,
clarify.
Mr. Chair, I believe Commissioner Drury is reading from the very first hearing.
Yeah.
It was reviewed after that by the full commission on, I believe it was later in April, and there was 4 comments. And it was continued indefinitely to consent for project design and final approval with comments.
These comments then no longer have any weight?
Well,
They weren't reopened at that hearing. They weren't reopened at that second hearing.
So,
Which means?
Can I address?
sorry. Go ahead.
Chair Grumvine, Commissioner Drury. So what was given project design approval is your baseline now. So you're looking at that, and when you're doing review after final, what you're looking for is to determine if the changes substantially conform to what was given PDA. So that's your baseline, and it's within your purview to decide if the proposed changes do indeed conform to what you had given project design approval.
So Mr. Chair, do we have the project design approval plans in front of us?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, I can provide those.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner House?
my interpretation of what Mr. Drury was saying was that what is presented now harkens back to what was originally not acceptable several meetings ago.
Okay, so
That's my
as
understanding.
So I think what we can do is let's review the drawings that were approved, and then we can kind of, and if the previous comments help to lead us to where we got to here, that might be able to help to lead us to to review this project. So this is the project that got design approval.
By consent or by the
At consent.
At consent, after our last round of comments, which was to send it to consent with the column light fixtures should be more Spanish in style, simplify the decorative features on the wrought iron to be in line with El Pueblo Viejo. Tile should be re-examined for its appropriateness in the broad field and show a perspective of the entry gate itself, including location of the piers. So we said all those things. They produced this. We gave this approval on consent. So let's look at what
Mr. Chair, before you start,
this is.
I do have a question. Is alcohol under our purview?
No.
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 Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Mahan,
decision
you
making.
asked.
Okay.
Can I,
4 trees.
you want me to explain?
If questioned.
Okay.
I see 4 trees, all paving.
What type are the trees? There.
That could be a question.
You have to zoom in a
This-
little bit.
You can answer. It's a question. The type of trees?
Desert Museum Palo Verde.
Which one?
Desert Museum Palo Verde.
Okay.
36-inch box.
And this is a hedge in front of the wrought iron, right?
Yes, it's a hedge in front
Or
of
just
or
low
that's
planting.
Low planting.
Let's see if there's is there a planting plan?
It's just asphalt.
Is there a more detailed planting plan, or is this as good as we're going to be?
That's
Okay,
this
that's
is
what
it.
it was. Okay.
The elevations and
All right. So let's see elevations. Okay, so here's the shed roof that you were talking about. This is the elevation of that.
wrought iron
There were more plans.
planting.
And this is the poles that you talked about. There's now one here, and one here.
Back against the building.
Okay. And then these ones are still the same?
Yes.
Okay.
We're not bolting to the building.
Right. Yeah, it's separate.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to see the detailed plans as well?
Is there an illustration of the hanging fixtures on this plan?
It's on the elevation.
I saw it on the elevations, though that doesn't.
I have cut sheets.
okay.
I provided cut sheets from the PD. Yes,
This
so
is
it's
the
in
cut
there,
sheets.
and the pendant structure, the pendant fixtures are in there.
This was our other solution to hanging lights, other than the string lights that you approved.
And
So-
these are three umbrellas here. You still have the 3 and 3, it's 6 umbrellas?
And I mean, I have to look at the new plan. I think there's less. Those were changed.
Let's
Those
see.
are.
I'm trying to find the lights here.
These are not the hanging lights.
Is-
Okay.
Do you want to? Or maybe they're here.
No.
What do we do, what about the heaters?
The heaters look the same or similar.
These were the lights. Or actually, you don't have, I'm not seeing the cut sheets of the lights.
Here, let me see if there's this guy.
No,
Umbrella.
that's an older one.
Did we approve those heaters on consent in silver?
That's what it looks like in the packet.
Yeah.
At least that's the cut sheet.
Is there a comment on that, Pilar? I don't remember approving stainless steel heaters on consent.
Says they're not acceptable in the,
Earlier
There were
comments.
no comments at the, apologies, there was no comments at the project design approval other than the stucco columns be chamfered with soft corners.
Okay. Oh, wait, what's, oh, is that,
Those were the original string lights I proposed.
Madam Staff, these drawings that we have before us that were approved by consent, you have those that were
Before?
before?
Yes.
the ones that went to consent?
No, the ones that we saw before it went to consent.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Pertaining to the comments.
That we can see
Mr.
what
Drew
the
already
adjustment
read.
was.
You want the mirror?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair?
yes, please. Let's. So, okay.
So there were no heaters on that.
No.
They were stuck in past our esteemed consent review body. Don't look at me like that.
They must have been proposed because there was a comment.
Wouldn't stand too close to it.
Yeah. They,
Yeah, I mean,
No, I
There was
don't
a com-
remember, I don't remember
But they-
Every patio.
stainless
outside
steel
has heaters.
heaters. That doesn't,
and 90% of them are stainless steel.
That doesn't mean.
but that doesn't mean they were approved. Okay, so, but the packet that we had, that had the stainless steel heater in it, right? That's, okay. So this was the packet that we approved.
There are
Or that
no
comes-
additional cut sheets that were submitted since project design approval, except for this one right here with the green screen material. Yeah,
Did submit different light fixtures
and the light fixtures. Yeah.
package. They're
Okay.
noted on the plans, but the cut sheets aren't in this package.
So all that was reviewed is within that packet. All those cut sheets.
Okay, so, and that included the stainless steel heater. Okay, and it did include this string of lights, is that right, or no?
The original, when I first presented this project to the commission, that was included as our lighting scheme.
Okay, and that's
And
what we
that was
approved?
No, that was
That's
not
what was
approved.
not
That was
acceptable.
rejected.
Got
It's
you,
not
that was
acceptable.
rejected, okay.
But
I
we're
don't-
not
I don't
finding
know.
a cut sheet for what shows in these elevations. Is that true?
No,
Okay.
I have them listed here.
Oh, that's what, yeah, maybe you,
Listed here.
so it's something more like this that was approved.
Something more lantern-like.
More,
Yeah.
it was sort of like in that realm.
It was switched from string lights to pendant light fixtures.
Okay, but it was the design. Sorry, I was looking for something that was more like the other hanging. Okay, so like this was what was approved. Oops, I should use a pointer. So this is the design that was approved. You're asking for an adjustment to this other design. Correct?
The only,
I mean, this is the design that
Correct.
was approved for the hanging light fixture.
Yes.
Which is kind of similar to this, but hanging.
I mean, this is fixture, I forget, you have to look at the site plan for the letter, but it's listed there. That's the correct fixture. I don't think
Okay.
it's this one.
Okay, but
I brought in a whole nother set, but they're not
okay,
in this.
but
package.
whatever the case, it was something like this, and then you're asking for a change to what you showed as
The string lights.
the string lights with the
Correct.
hood.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Copper.
Okay. Right, Commissioner Drury?
So nothing, it doesn't seem to be, so here's continued 2 weeks with the following.
Oh, you,
No.
Mike?
No,
You have to
I'm on.
start all over now.
Yes, God. So, it's continued 2 weeks with the following comments. So what happened to those comments?
Those
Comments
those comments were addressed at the following hearing, and I can show you the revised set from that original set where they had the longer comments if you'd like to see those.
Well, I don't know that they're necessary. I'm just wondering if we find the architecture generally acceptable. That hasn't changed. Proposed light fixture details. Stainless steel heaters are not acceptable. Study the string lights as they are currently not acceptable in El Pueblo Viejo. Are they suddenly in 2 weeks or a month became acceptable? I'm having a lot of trouble with these comments.
So I think part of it is they were addressed to get to here, at least most of those. The stainless steel, I don't know.
They're not acceptable according to the comments.
I don't know because we did approve their stainless steel cut sheet. So
No, but you can't say that if they were on the earlier one and said not acceptable, and then they don't show them, but don't remove the cut sheets from the project.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
So the heaters, I'm not
hold on.
worried about the heaters. Can we move on to something more important than heaters?
So,
Hold-
and
hold
Mr.
on.
Chair, I would encourage, this shouldn't be
Yeah,
some
this is-
open forum.
yeah,
Go
sorry.
go
This is-
by each commissioner,
question-
and
this
each
is
commissioner
question,
provide
so
their
we
comments
need to-
on the revised set.
Yeah.
What's before you today is what's listed as review after final. That's including the green screen revisions.
Nothing we didn't say.
Okay, so what is being,
Mystery person in the closet? Wasn't there something in the closet before that was?
Your hair,
It's weird.
when you turn yours on.
is it that one?
I mean, literally silenced by. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so just to bring it back, we have an approved set of plans that was given project design and final approval. What's before you today is review after final to change the wrought iron fencing to the green screen. There is a little cut sheet, I don't know if any of you looked at that, but for the green screen. To do the concrete with granulated granite, revise the sloping roof to a flat roof of the storage shed, reconfigure the lighting and seating layout, and that's it. That's all that's being reviewed today. And that's
And the trees.
yes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Mahan.
Is granulated granite the same thing as decomposed granite?
Okay, that's,
Yeah, it was noticed in reverse for some reason. It's DG.
It's decomposed?
Yes.
yeah.
I have a question about on A201, where you show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 poles
Hold on one second, Commissioner.
on the south elevation to hold up the lights, but when I look at the plan, there are only 1, 2, 3.
Those poles are in the back, at the back side of the building. So if you see where the lights get anchored on the north side,
Oh, they're on the back. They're on the back side of the building, and
yes, they're back in the distance.
so they're not coming. I see. I see. Okay,
slightly
that's very
faded,
good
but-
drafting. Very good.
Work as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner House, questions?
My question would be, is there any reason you can't just plant traditional hedge material without the green screen?
No, we can plant a regular hedge. I just think it's going to grow faster and be more effective with the green screen.
I wondered if it had anything to do with alcoholic beverage control or something like that.
Actually, I think it might.
In which case,
Yeah.
probably just a swag chain would satisfy them.
Correct. Yeah, we'd probably have to review that with ABC to make sure.
Yeah, but
But we're in questions. We're in questions. Okay, go ahead.
That's
No, we're in-
the only
Commissioner Lendick.
question I have right now.
I know. It's on Commissioner House's turn.
I think I'm
Are
done.
you done? Okay.
I
Commissioner
yield
Vena.
to Commissioner
Questions?
Lendick.
Questions? No. Now it's your turn, Commissioner Lendick. Questions?
thank you. I know we may have missed it the first time, but I would be interested in knowing where your mechanical equipment is for the big reefer box.
It's inside.
All of it's inside.
Yep.
So then you're venting that.
Commissioner Lendick, I have to ask that we stick on what is before us. The list that we had was
Well,
five
he's
or
asking
so.
if there's any external mechanical equipment.
I know, but right now we're reviewing the 5 things that they're changing.
And I'll ask the applicant, you've checked with the health department, and you know that you can serve food and beverage on gravel.
I haven't, I mean, I don't see an issue there, but I haven't formally checked with them. It hasn't been reviewed and approved by the health department yet. We're not even there yet.
Any other questions, Commissioner Lundy?
No.
Commissioner Vena, questions?
So what happened to the other trees? I mean, you raised
We're
them
simplifying
because
a one
they got in the way, or
larger
what?
tree as I stated before, the project came in way over budget, so we're trying to simplify
So the
the
trees
costs. So we eliminated 3 trees and went with a magnolia tree, which would grow into a bigger tree than the 4 trees we had before.
In your life, not in your lifetime.
That's the comment.
Oh,
He might live a long time, too. All right. Any other questions, Commissioner Vena?
no, not at this
All
time.
right. Commissioner Nemec? Questions? And Commissioner Drury, any other questions? It's just questions?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
And about the 5?
We're being asked to approve string lights, right?
That's the question, yes.
Despite the comments of a month ago, whatever, that they are not acceptable. I mean, that's part of our purview, and
Oh.
Have to start over again?
Yes.
No, please not. That's like Commissioner Vena said, the trees just sort of went away, and the wrought iron or the lights, the fixtures as were accepted, and they just have gone away to propose string lighting. Yes?
That's your question. Okay. I think
As I stated before,
Yes.
we priced out the approved plan. It is over budget, so it's likely not going to happen. We're trying to reduce costs, and those items that we're discussing today are cost
Prohibitive.
measures that we are proposing that you consider so we can reduce the cost of the project and fulfill my client's desire to make this an active space instead of a dilapidated eyesore on State Street.
Thank you.
Commissioner Uli, any questions come back to mind?
No.
No.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, I have one additional question.
All right, Commissioner
I just
Haas.
want to clarify, when it says it's a 36-inch box tree, that's not implying it's sitting in a box above the ground. It
No,
is that
the
size of
tree will be in the
planted
ground. That's the
Okay.
nomenclature used for the size of the tree that
Right.
you're purchasing.
No, I understand.
It's not in a box sitting above the ground. It's in the ground.
Just wanted to clarify for the record.
Okay. All right. So,
I have a question.
yes, Commissioner Edmonds. Oh, sorry.
Um,
I didn't get you because started with Commissioner Mahan.
Go ahead.
Have you researched plants that could grow in the green screen that repel rodents?
That would
I
what?
have not.
Repel rodents.
Repel rodents.
I have not.
Okay, well, I just Googled it, and there are a whole list of different options that actually repel rodents, so.
Including poison oak.
No,
No,
but
I'm
I
just
think it's a valid.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, it's a valid question.
Mm-hmm.
Rodents are an issue. I mean, we go to big cities and we see green screens and we see rats running down the street, but there are a whole list of different types of plants that could be used.
Any other questions?
Yes, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, we can circle back.
Yeah.
You get a free question
Yeah.
card.
All right.
All right. So,
I have a question of staff.
all right.
So when I read the applicant's reason for submitting for a revised after final, I don't see that he has indicated that he's going to eliminate any trees.
That's correct.
So we should still assume that there are 4 trees.
That's correct.
Approved and
That
as part of this
portion,
project.
the landscaping, will only need to be commented on, and that will need to be formally agendized. But all the rest of it can be commented on and approved review after final.
Do you have my application? Did I not say revised landscaping?
No, unfortunately, it didn't.
Mr. Chair, I remember
Okay.
my question, sorry.
All right,
How
Commissioner
tall is the green screen? Is it the same height as the
It's like,
proposed
it's 42 inches tall.
42 inches.
42 inches?
And
Yes, Commissioner
a
Lemon?
question. I see that you're having a top and seating along that perimeter edge where the green screen is,
Correct.
but I don't see a detail for that.
It's
Any place.
furniture we've submitted. It's similar to the table that you saw.
So
before.
it'll be furniture that's out there.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so now we'll go to comments, but we need to stick to the things that have been agendized, and then with the maybe we can give commentary on the.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair, what I was specifying about the landscaping is, you can provide comments to the applicant for the purposes of agendizing it. That particular item will need to come back as a review after final item. But the rest of the items, for example, the wrought iron fencing to green screen, the granite, the sloping roof, those can all be commented on.
Okay. Okay, and so those can also, we can give project design approval.
It's a review after
'cause it's
final.
After final, right? Okay. So if commissioners, as we go down the line here, if you could comment on the elimination of the wrought iron fence and the green screen replacement, the replacement of the majority of the concrete with DG, the revised sloping roof to a flat roof, and the reconfigure the lighting and seating layout. And the reconfigure of the lighting is also a different light as well, right? Okay, so if you can comment on each of those, what your thoughts are on those, that would be good, and then we can hopefully get a motion. So if let's start with Commissioner Edmonds, because I didn't even let you, yeah, exactly.
Well, as far as comments go, I really like the idea of this beer garden. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Creekside to some degree, where my grandkids love to go and play. I like the idea of bringing people to this particular area of State Street. I just sound like I did a couple weeks ago. I'm conflicted on the string lights. I like the idea of string lights, especially with the hoods, but I understand that they don't fit within the EPV guidelines, so I am conflicted on that issue. I actually like the green screen. I think it fits with the fact that it's next door to Institution Ale, which is an Art Deco building, so it's a more modern building. But I do realize as well that that is probably not in our guidelines as far as EPV goes. But I do like it, and I think that you can find plantings that probably do repel rodents.
What about the flat roof?
The flat roof.
You want to see that again, or no? You remember it? An elevation with the.
I don't have a strong opinion either way. I think I like both designs. So, yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a strong opinion on it. That's it.
All right. And Commissioner Mahan.
Yeah, I can't accept the green screen as a substitute for wrought iron in El Pueblo Viejo. I could accept a stucco wall, which might be cheaper than, or less, they may say more economical than a wrought iron. I don't believe that I can go with the decomposed granite in a beer garden which is going to get used every night. I know that there's decomposed granite at the Historical Museum and also at the De La Guerra House, but those are used once in a while. And so the spilled beer gets a chance to soak in or evaporate. But I don't think I will not approve of that, support that. I like very much the flat roof, the way it's designed with the tile cap. I think that's very, very charming. So that's okay on the storage shed, and I do not support the reconfiguration of the lighting as was approved. And while we're not talking about landscaping, I feel like this is short on landscaping. The 4 trees seem to me to be much more appropriate than 1 tree.
Okay. And yes, in terms of comments, if if commissioners can comment on the trees, that's good too, because it'll give for future direction. But we'll just not make it part of the motion. Okay. All right, Commissioner House?
Well, I also cannot support the green screen. I don't know that we've approved that anywhere in El Pueblo Viejo. I have concerns about it because if the planting doesn't thoroughly cover it or has some bare spots, then you're seeing that. I think a traditional hedge or a stucco wall, as suggested, would be appropriate approaches. And as far as rodents go, they can live in any conventional hedge just as easily as they can in this kind of wall. As far as the flat roof, I have no problem with that. As far as the decomposed granite, that's not a huge concern for me. I think that aesthetically it's nice. I think that it's absorbent and it doesn't need to be hosed down, power washed, but I think that I don't expect it's going to be a problem. As far as the lighting, on your previous drawings, you had put the strings of lights in parallel swags, which I think is far preferable to zigzagging back and forth. Usually the zigzagging is a result of you've got very few places to supply the power to, so you just end up zigzagging back and forth. But since this is a brand new installation, you can have power supply at each post and avoid that. And I think it looks a lot more handsome. Let's see. Oh, and as far as the trees, they were Palo Verde before, I think, which obviously are pretty diaphanous. They don't really block view of much of anything. My objective would be to not see the parking lot at the far end. I think the magnolia works in that direction, but I think it's going to need more than one tree. You've got the flat roof structure helps somewhat, but maybe if that was over there a little more and there was another one over here, so your eye is drawn towards them, towards the foreground more, instead of parking lot in the background.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Vena?
Well, first of all, I'm really disturbed on the trees as far as they go. I think it would lend it, with the trees, I think it would give it a much more comforting feeling and blend it more into the overall area between the buildings and so on. Maybe the Palo Verde tree can change, but I think the trees are necessary. I'm also concerned about the decomposed granite, and perhaps maybe they can put some kind of additive so that it doesn't become so absorbent, and thusly they can maybe be able to hose it down from time to time. I concur with the other things as far as the not meeting the Pueblo Viejo's requirements regarding the screening or whatever, this instant screen.
Okay. Commissioner Lenvik?
Yeah, keep in mind
Go ahead.
We are looking at a formal application that does not have the hooded lights, but continues to have the decorative fixtures hung.
No, I think part of the application is, can you clarify?
Well, the
Ms.
elevations
Plummer?
show something more like what was on the previous plans.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we were told that the applicant had a drawing which you wanted to submit as a revision.
The applicant did have another set of plans. However, I advised we needed to look at the ones that were submitted previously that I have reviewed.
And in terms of a cut sheet review, like are we reviewing the hooded light versus, or were you reviewing this as the
Yes.
alternative?
Yes.
Or okay, so we are reviewing this as a proposed, as the hooded string. The one that,
Either this is the application set that was submitted on August 26th that has the decorative Hispanic lights on them, or we're not. he's brought this in with the hooded lights as
Yeah. So that revised set is not the one we're looking at. We're looking at the one that is in front of the applicant.
So if the one that shows the old light is there, but they're showing a cut sheet with this.
Yeah. So
that's
so
where
Mr.
we're
Chair,
getting suckered.
Yeah,
so
well, that's
Mr.
where
Chair,
I'm trying
what
to make it
I
clear.
suggested is
Hold.
you can provide comments. You can't approve it today.
Okay, so we can't approve this.
Provide
but-
comments to
but-
the applicant to give him direction, so that when he returns, he can address those comments. Even though you can't approve the revised drawings he wanted to present today,
Okay.
you can provide comments to
So
it.
just to clarify, we're making comments on the hooded lights and the trees. We can make decision on the others.
Or continue it 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, good.
I'm-
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and so I'm continuing. So on the formal application dated, received August 26, on sheet 8201, we see the outline of the cooler and its equipment on top. But it probably would be difficult to do if you had a roof structure there. But on the drawings that were submitted today, that stuff is not there, shown. So it's unresolved.
It's not.
Hold
can,
on,
can
hold
I
on.
explain?
No, hold on. So we're in comments, and we need to, if we're not reviewing that set of drawings, and we're reviewing this set of drawings, then we need to review this set of drawings, and we need to stick to the list that we have. So if there is, we need to, what we're reviewing, we need to comment on those two things, the lights and the trees, and then we need to make decision on the wrought iron fence, the DG, and the sloping flat roof, and the reconfigured lighting and layout, but not the new design. That's just direction. So, on those items, can you comment?
Well, I don't, I think it'd be sad to lose the trees.
Okay.
I think it would be unfortunate to have DG to walk on as opposed to paving material of some more durable kind. I do like the flat roof structure, but I'm concerned that the equipment that is inside will fit inside and not end up on the roof. So I don't see that this is a substitution that is equivalent to what was approved.
Okay, on certain items, but on some items you are okay with them.
I don't know that I've identified anything that I'm, other than the flat roof structure, I don't know that I've identified anything that's
Well, that's something.
consistent.
We're trying to work from somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, any other
No,
comments?
no.
Okay, Commissioner Nemec?
I do not support the green screen. I like that product. Used it on different projects. I don't think it's appropriate here in El Pueblo Viejo. Benchmark Eatery actually has green screen on their wall. It was not successful on their project, so they put silk and plastic plants all over it, which is quite sad. So I don't know if that was approved by us or what, but it doesn't look great.
Plastic plants?
Yeah, very much.
Junipers.
It depends on what kind.
Juniper.
All right. So on
Or
the DG?
DG, I like DG as a walkable ground surface. I think it's nice that it'll make that area a little bit more permeable. I don't know how that would do with people spilling food and drinks on it though, constantly. But I kind of like it. The new lighting layout, I think, is fine. I don't know if people don't like those string lights with the hoods, but I kind of like those. What else is there? Oh, and then the trees. I think the loss of 4 trees is sad. I think there should be more trees just for natural shade. I was never for the original species, though. I did not like Desert Museum Palo Verde there. And I do think your new species is a little bit in the better direction, mostly because it provides more shade. And then, oh, and then the flat roof I think is fine. I like the new detail for that if it works. And then, yeah, that was it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Drury, comments?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm assuming Ms. Plummer will keep me on the straight and narrow, and Ms. Ostringer will help.
They'll try.
Okay, good. So I can understand the desire to eliminate the wrought iron fencing. I can't support the green screen as well, but I think that there's other solutions, a lower stucco wall perhaps, so you don't use as much iron. And I think the granulated, the decomposed granite is fine. I think that actually will be something you would just rake after or before. The sloping roof to a flat roof, I think the flat roof is a good idea. And as far as the lighting goes, I like Commissioner Nemec said, I like the idea of those hooded lights, but they're not acceptable in El Pueblo Viejo. And I do have a question. Is there a possibility of those string lights, instead of being string, but just pipe, like a trellis? Is that a possibility?
Not really.
Not really?
Pretty substantial
I'm just asking.
pipe to span that much.
Okay, all right.
Giant wide fences.
So I can't support the string lighting as much as I find it attractive. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Uli?
I made a little list here, so I'm
All right, ready.
stick to my list. I like DG. I think it might be a challenge in this context because of the frequency that spills will occur on it, but it's more a maintenance issue than it is an aesthetic one. I do like that surface as a medium. Can't support the green screen. I like the idea. I understand you're trying to save cost, but you can't rely upon, no offense to the landscapers here, you can't rely upon the landscaping and plants to grow the way that you want them to grow. So it may take a while, they may die, who knows what's going to happen. And in the interim, you're looking at this rather, utilitarian screen. So I can't support that. I can support the idea of maybe a stucco wall or some other, barrier, because I'm sure that the people who control the alcohol license will want a barrier. I don't have any problem with the building. I think it's a better detail for such a small little structure. While I like string lights, others have said it, they're not allowed in the district, and until they are, I can't conceive of one that would be passable. A light on a string is a light on a string, whether it has a hood or not, or it's a fixture or whatever it is, it's still a light on a string. And so I can't support that. I'm saddened to see the loss of landscaping. So I would encourage more trees. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So for my comments, I agree with other commissioners about the green screen. I heard stucco wall and I heard chain as a possibility. I personally would be supportive of probably either one of those,
Or traditional hedge.
or a traditional hedge if that works for all the other laws. But however you get it to work out, but definitely not the green screen for the previously mentioned reasons, or simplifying the ironwork to simpler pickets and just turning them and alternating them instead of having a fancy pattern if that's what's driving the cost. But any of those other solutions just would seem fine to me. The DG, and it seems like there's a little bit of there definitely is variation here. Some are not okay with it. Mostly, it sounds like as a maintenance thing, worried about it kind of getting gross. I think with Casa de la Guerra, it's more of like a chip seal. It's kind of like some sort of a hybrid thing. I think it's a little bit more cleanable. I would say, me personally, I would be okay with DG, especially if it was more on the cleanable side of things. And I think the Casa, maybe you can talk to them about how they did it. But it looks very DG-ish, but it just has a strong texture, but it's cleanable. But I personally would be okay with it. But I would have similar concerns about the keeping it clean. The flat roof, I'm in agreement with as well. The lighting, interestingly, I would agree with everything except for the string light comment, which up until this project, a string light was a string light, which made it not okay, until we saw a really beautiful light on a string. In which case we said yes to this, and that was I think the exception moment where we said, this is so much like a wrought iron fixture that it now looks more like a pendant hanging as opposed to a series of string lights. So that was the sort of the exception that was being made with this design proposal. And I would say I would be still supportive of something like this, or maybe a little bit simpler and a little bit smaller, but really as an iron fixture as opposed to a string of little lights. So, but that's I think going well. I'm trying to tie it to the history of it because it is. This was sort of the exception. It was because it was so much more like a wrought iron fixture. So maybe something simpler, but still in the fixture level. And then the trees, I definitely feel with most of my commissioners, or actually all of them have said that the loss of trees is going from 4 to 1 is not a good thing or acceptable. I could see possibly something in between, but I think that the 1 is definitely feels sort of lonely and singled. So in terms of, so to summarize, at least the ones that we're finding consistency on, the trees and the light fixture type both seem to be not as the current proposed don't seem to be acceptable, with the loss from 4 down to 1 of the trees and the lighting changing to a string light design. There was one commissioner okay with it, but that was it for the lighting.
That would be me.
That was the direction. Yeah,
you were one that wrote the lighting design guidelines.
Wait, was it you and I thought it was Commissioner Nemec had also said?
Oh, he said he'd like the two.
In terms of, and for as a side note, yeah, they're really nice string lights with the hood, but at the same time they're still string lights. But had you said that you were kind of okay?
I wasn't saying that I was not accepting of the string lights, and I did read through the lighting design guidelines and the lighting ordinance, and it does not specifically prohibit them except where it says strings of small lights attached to buildings are not allowed except for temporary holiday installations. So I have seen a lot of them going up in places like Victoria Court and 1129. So I was kind of being more consistent with the fact that they are being utilized.
It was approved at Hotel Milo.
Yeah.
Those buildings, those are in paseos.
Yeah.
They're not on the street.
No, I understand.
Open to the street.
I understand. Well,
And
yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner.
I would like to pose a question to the applicant. Have you thought about, and I'm not sure the board would buy this, but have you thought about lighting the trees or from the trees?
Trees, plural.
Pardon me?
I like lights.
Yeah, I do too. The other thing is, and I've seen it done before, is lights on the underside of the umbrellas.
Yeah.
I know it's more residential. I mean, I've done it at my own home, put lights on the underside of our umbrellas. But there are ways that you can. Pardon me?
Were they string lights?
Yeah, but they're wound around the ribs of the. They're wound around the ribs of the umbrella.
I did look at the umbrellas. I didn't look at the trees. The umbrellas are little LED strips that are on the ribs.
Yeah.
Of the.
And Mr.
So,
Chair,
it's an idea. That's all.
I would note that some ordinance prohibits the lighting on the underside of awnings, so they're not glowing objects. So the same principle would apply to umbrellas. So we certainly wouldn't want to encourage a lighting that made this large glowing umbrella.
Yeah.
So, okay, so.
One more comment, Chair.
Yeah.
Might I suggest olive trees? You can get them large. They're
Yeah.
more reasonable. They're more able to live. You can sculpt them out, and I think they're more in keeping with what you might be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so along the trees and the lighting, that's our sort of our key direction right now, and then we'll get a motion for the others. So it seems like that more trees, and the lighting issue might even be worked within them of lighting from the trees down. But the current idea of the string lights at these locations is not. I hear a majority of no support for that. Okay, so that's just sort of general direction. But now we need, on the flat roof, I think everyone's fairly unanimous, with also the additional note that we also want to make sure that we're concerned for to make sure that with the new roof configuration that the mechanical equipment still is hidden behind it. So with that additional concern, there was a pretty unanimous acceptance of the flat roof as a possibility, as a change. The DG, the count seems to be a little bit more favorable for as opposed to it.
Take a straw vote on that.
Yeah. Okay. So all those who would be up for the DG, raise your hand. All those opposed? So we've got. And sorry, Commissioner Edmonds, were you for or against? Four. Okay. So we've got two against, and the remainder 4 are okay with it. And then the green screen, it was pretty unanimously not acceptable as an alternate. So.
But possibly a stucco wall.
But possibly a stucco wall. Who at least could entertain just in terms of thinking cost-wise, a chain if that gives them all their legal protections that they need for. In terms of what definition?
More than just a chain, and if there's just low plantings in a chain, it's going to get trampled. But a hedge and a chain, I don't know. That's my thinking.
I think we would need to see a drawing, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that could be a possibility, but another solution, either a plaster wall or some other solution. And who could also see a simplification of the wrought iron? Does it seem? Is that sort of a general? Of course, we're out to see the design, but
depends on the design.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So both of those would have to have some design proposal. Okay, and then let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so and then the seating layout, the reconfigured seating layout, was that seemed fairly acceptable for the change? Yeah, that might change as well, but just in terms of so that we've actually weighed in on what they've currently shown for the seating, this seating arrangement.
Mr. Chair, we have no objection to less wrought iron. I mean, one of the most expensive items is the wrought iron fabrication and purchase, so we have no objection in principle to less wrought iron as long as it's artfully done. If it's combined with a
as long as the infill, what's in between those piers, is acceptable.
Yeah.
So I think and right now what is proposed was not acceptable as infill, which was the green screen or whatever.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner House?
I hadn't really focused on the seating layout, but how high is that table surface?
It's bar height.
Okay, so like 42 or something?
Same as the top of the fence.
Yeah. And so those are more like bar stools than just regular
Correct.
chairs. Okay. I'm really reluctant on that.
What was the previous seating?
Benches.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If that bar is 42 inches high, and if the wall, a stucco wall would be 42 inches high, also they could be integrated.
Yeah.
You know, at the fiesta party up on the loggia of the courthouse, we all set our drinks on the railing and look over, and
Maybe
so
you
you'd have a
do,
little
but-
wider. You'd have a little wider bar there than with the wrought iron.
Okay.
It might be more functional.
That's a good idea suggestion.
Set your drink.
Even it could be capped with tile, which would be easier to maintain.
Okay. So, but I think our main conclusion right now is that the current one as proposed is not acceptable with the infill that needs to be designed in differently.
Mr. Chair, if I
yes,
could get
Commissioner House.
clarification, what was approved in the PDA as far as seating along there? Basically that, or was it
Wasn't
something
as
different?
much, but there was seating along there.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a concern, a 42-inch stucco wall, you know, for railings, certainly 36 is a better proportion.
Hold
But
on, just to clarify, is this the right one, or we should look at the other one?
Yeah, that's the right one. We had seating over here and seating here.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I just have a concern about that because you have a 42-inch wall and a 42-inch eating surface, and then the beer glasses and everything are sitting on top of that. And I don't know, I think it's unsightly. So I think if they were 30-inch table height or 36 or something like that, but I think that what's sitting on tables should be concealed more from view.
Okay, so let's take a little straw vote about the seating, because we need to give them direction on that as well. So who can support the current seating adjustment, and we know that trees still have to be fit in, but if they swap out a table and put some trees in or whatever it is, I want to at least have given them feedback on this configuration. So who can support this current configuration of seating?
Mr. Chair, sorry, when you say configuration, you're just talking about the configuration, not the height, or are you talking
Including
about
Including the
height?
height. Including the height.
Okay.
The current design of seating here, seating here, seating here, here.
And so going back to Commissioner House's comments, this configuration is 42 and 42.
42 here, here, and here, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So who can...
I'm
Sorry.
And so the tables, you said, are bar height at 42 as well?
The tables are just standard
Typical.
tables.
Sorry?
So they're just like this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. that.
26
Okay.
inches or something.
Thank
So
you.
these are like
28
regular
inches.
picnic
29,
tables.
30 inches high.
This is
Okay.
low seating at fireplace. Yeah. And or end deck. Okay, so who can support the seating as proposed? Who is against the seating as proposed? Okay, so it's all but 2 are for. Okay, so I think we have at least fairly clear direction on what is supportable currently, and that is not the infill green screen, yes to the DG, the majority of the commissioners feel it's okay. The flat roof unanimously, and with the concern of the mechanical, and then the seating can be supported.
And the lighting.
And the lighting, the lighting we've given comments on already, which was because we can't give an actual a decision on it. Okay, so.
And so, Mr. Chair, because the applicant will have to revise the drawings to address your comments, so I'd suggest doing a continuance for whatever is the appropriate time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
All right, Commissioner
One,
Hess.
hopefully last question. In your PDA, were umbrellas included in that?
Yes.
Okay, which I think I saw, and they didn't have a valance, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, my concern is I would want to make sure we don't end up with awnings, umbrellas with beer names on them or any other signage, but as long as they don't have a valance, and that's what was approved, then that should...
Depends on what kind of beer.
Yeah.
Can I
All right.
brought that up at the beginning?
Yeah, so
Bronze or copper, or what's
Either of those would be...
in terms, it sounds like bronze or copper would be work for everyone?
Yeah.
Copper?
Copper? Yeah. All right, it sounds like you'll get the most favorable copper.
Mr. Chair, with those
All right.
comments, I'll make a motion for a 2 weeks continuance.
Second.
All right, second by House, motion by Mahan. Under discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
You try to integrate it into a piece of architecture or something at the front?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think we need a second piece of sign.
I don't know what she needs back there. Did this come from
And
her?
just for the record, I wasn't trying to squeeze anything through here with my drawings.
I know that.
I recognized an error, and I fixed it, that's why I brought revised drawings.
Yeah. That goes back to...
Yeah. Sorry.
Just
Get rid of it all. Get rid of it all.
We
Clear
sent
the
that
decks.
way. Okay.
I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Why don't you get a cup of coffee?
Thank you, sir.
Yes. She just dropped them off.
Isn't it very nice of her? Still driving.
All right. So, well, let's continue on to item number 3, project design approval for 532 East Sola Street.
Mr. Chair, could we recess for 5 minutes?
Yes. Okay. 5-minute recess. All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, calling back to order Historic Landmarks Commission, September 4th, 2019. We are on to item number 3, 532 East Sola Street. This is for project design approval as requested. Historic resource and neighborhood preservation ordinance findings are required. Project was last reviewed August 21st, 2019. And please introduce yourselves for the record.
Hi, I'm David Farron with Archetype Architects.
I'm Jakob Bogenberger, the owner.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
And, Mr. Chair, I don't have too many comments. This project is on for project design approval today. Basically, revising some of the plan drawings to address your comments from the last hearing. Nicole Hernandez did provide a memorandum, which I hope you all have read, which basically outlines how this project came to be part of the potential historic resources as it is a contributor to the Bungalow Haven area, as well as information that the tile coping on the building was not original. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'll just read our motion from last time, and then maybe we can go from there. So, motion for 2 weeks with the following comments. To continue 2 weeks, sorry. Number 1, the main body and window trim colors shown on the color board are not acceptable as submitted and need to match the examples on page A1D of the drawing set, which the owner states are the original red and green. Number 2, the windows as proposed need to work to be more compatible with the front portion of the house, with casements as options, and should have lintels to match the front portion of the house as well. Number 3, the articulation on the back wall of the south elevation is acceptable. Number 4, the back deck on the west elevation needs to be less contemporary with vertical wood members rather than horizontal. The action was by Mahan, second by Vena, 6-0-1 vote. Lenvik abstained. House and Uli were absent. The motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I have reviewed the video.
Okay, thank you.
And, Mr. Chair, I will abstain again. Same reasons I had to last time. And should I step down?
Yes, it will need to step down. And you need to repeat what your, why you're stepping down.
I can read your words.
I see it there. I can expand on it, but it's the same. I'm stepping down because I don't believe the project is consistent with what's happening in the neighborhood. I don't believe it should be a structure of merit, and therefore it shouldn't be reviewed by us. And I think the findings are going to be very difficult to make.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And the project got too far, and that's why I'm stepping down. I just don't feel it would be fair to continue.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now.
You just want an early out.
Okay. All right. So, to the applicant, please present your project, and if you want, you can go through an order of our comments or however you like.
I'll just first start by going through the changes that were made to the building. The front trellis beam was increased in size, and you can see that here. Previously, it was the same size as the trellis members. The kitchen windows.
What size is it now?
4 by 6.
Call it 532.
That was on the cover page, is what I was pointing to.
A0.
And you can also see that on A1. Going to go around the corner to the west side. Well, let's first just note that the living room windows on the east side are now are the same, and the kitchen windows are closely matching them, which also have the same language as the front of the building. And then on the west elevation, the guard and pickets were changed to vertical, and the screen was eliminated. The rear trellis was reconfigured, including increased member sizes. They're shown as, I believe, 4 by 8. And that can also be seen on the rear. Right here.
Okay.
The overall height of the building mass, so this parapet height that you see on the sides of the building were lowered 8 inches overall. And then you can see here the flamed limestone. This was just going to be the same finish as the main house, and now it's the same finish as the pool, which is flamed limestone, and then that wraps around the sidewall underneath the deck. And then you can see here on the west and east elevations that we have this aged iron header element that was added to the music room windows, which speaks to the architecture of the header elements of the original house.
Those are projecting out some distance?
Yes, they project very small, 8 inches, I think.
Okay.
We'll get to questions.
All right. I'm going to material and renderings. Previously, we had the reddish color on the entire building. We decided to change the mass of the addition to a Santa Barbara approved color, which we have here. This is color for secondary building masses in the approved palette. And the building mass of the existing structure changed to more resemble the original pre-aged color. So this is the aged version that has been, where layers of paint and finishes removed to get down to. This is what we think probably was close to what was there, and this is the actual finish. So those are our changes.
Just to clarify what you're saying, is this piece here?
Yes, so you probably all know it's very difficult to get a print to be like an actual sample. So this is just showing the tonality of what this probably was prior to aging. And so this is our proposed sample, which will likely age and be more modeled over time. In terms of kind of the overall broad view of the project, the building style, we believe, is more of a reductionist form of Spanish colonial revival than a Pueblo style. If you understand how this building came to be, it was a simplified building form, simplified details that fit the needs of a lower income person. In this particular property, it was a janitor of the courthouse is who lived in this house first. The other characteristics of Pueblo style are thick walls, rounded and tapered stucco elements, including rounded window openings and parapet tops, and then massive wood components, of which this really doesn't have. It has some wood headers that are built into the walls, but they aren't structural and they aren't particularly massive. And then also going back to some of our older pictures that you have there, you can see that the trellis was there in 1988 at least, which was still some time since the building was built. But it had the smaller trellis elements. That with the fact that Spanish colonial revival / Santa Barbara style includes a lot of diversity in architectural language, and so that variety, I think, is consistent with what this building could be, and maybe even it was influenced by Pueblo style, but I don't think it is Pueblo style. We consulted also with Post Hazeltine because who's the author of of this plan, and they characterized the building as a regressive form of Spanish colonial, and we also wanted to know why they included this house as a historic resource in the Bungalow Haven district, and it's essentially what the city historian wrote to you in her memo. And as far as our addition, we'll leave that there for now and then go to the, well, actually, we can do it from here. So this is without landscaping in place or any other structures blocking views, but this is our addition. So, and we can see it from 2 vantages where it's really barely visible. And we think it does fit the scale and context of the neighborhood. And I think the addition of the warm color helps it to not be sort of strung out into a long meandering object. So I think this color is complementary. And the proposed header elements and the use of color are subtle ways to distinguish the back part from the front part. And it's really important for this improvement to fit the context of the original without pretending to be historic. So I felt like in our last review we were starting to get to a pretending to be historic rather than contextually having differences. And you probably have all seen the memo from Nicole Hernandez with the show the building without parapet tile and the French porch trellis in place. So we don't know if that was an addition or not, the porch trellis, but we do think it's part of the character of the building and would like to keep it in its current form, except for the one change that I already mentioned. We did change the color of the body to a color we feel is more in keeping. I did agree with the HLC comments last time about the last color that we had. And this, you'll see as we pass this around, you can see that there's a brushed kind of treatment to it that helps it to be more translucent. And we feel like the appropriate way forward is to have this color age with time and become, so that it's authentic and not contrived. We do have a few other samples if you want to see them, but this is our preferred sample. And so these are just things if you want to pass them around.
I'd like to take them outside, if I may.
Yeah.
So here's also a little piece of the original window glued on.
Oh, okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Yes, there's one thing I would like to explain a little bit about the color system. So the original colors or paint system were, I don't know exactly what they were, but it looks like calcium paints or something else, but later was latex paint, which is presently peeling. And I think it is not a very good system for the house. So the walls themselves are made out of structural clay tiles, which is a fairly fragile building material. and so doing anything major to the stucco, exterior stucco would definitely change or destabilize the walls. And I trying to use a mineral paint system, which basically would close all the pores, but allows the building system to breathe, because that was one of the issues with latex paints, that a lot of moisture got trapped in the building and mold issues inside. So I think it would be, and it is a paint system which is used a lot internationally, and also especially in the East Coast, to preserve old buildings. And a lot of these paints you're using there are using mineral pigments like iron oxide, and I used the advice from Mr. Drury to use something like Indian red or Venetian red, iron pigments, and you added a little bit of white in order to lighten it up a little bit. And I guess if you do that lasur type over a lighter background, you gain very similar look as the original red paint was. Obviously, that is an aged paint and difficult on mosaics of different leftovers. So I think that paint would somewhat make the building interesting because it's not a homogeneous paint, and but also not too busy to distract from the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. Okay, so does that complete your presentation?
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, would you like to show your alternatives as well, your non-preferred? So we can look at all, because we're... All right, would you like to show your...
Maybe not all of them. So that's more modeled, but as a result, darker. So it's modeled, maybe sanded rather than brushed. And then there's a solid version. So this is just getting close to the color and not doing any treatment to it.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Drury?
So, just...
no, let's do public comment first, and then we'll...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. All right, public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Back to the commission for questions.
So the, this is just a comment on the color, because as
Or,
you...
and actually, do you want to pause and take these out? And
Well, I'll just make it a statement now, and then we can take it outside. But what's proposed originally, the first item on the desk with the green, yes, that. So both the body color and the trim are close to the same value in terms of black and white. So that just makes it a really wonderful vibration. It's the when my students hear this, they roll their eyes. The law of simultaneous contrast, which we all deal with as we look around the world. And I think that I mean I will take it outside and look at it, but that's a winner to me. I guess that's a comment.
Yeah.
I better take that.
Take your comments outside.
Mr.
All
Chair,
right, who wants to join?
note.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, do you want to recess for a minute while
yeah,
they do that?
we'll recess. Yep. Well, the non-quorum. Yeah, we have three, right? Or just
3 can go, yeah. I'm sorry, I thought everyone was going
yeah,
outside.
no. Don't worry, we'll just be mic'd.
There you go. Well, they could hear us.
That's right. Recess. Yeah, just for a minute. quite the event there. Yeah. All right. Are we ready? All right. All right, we'll reconvene. Historic Landmarks Commission. All right, so, and I guess.
So there was a comment that it might be just a little on the sweet side, but I think we generally find that it's acceptable. Is that fair to say?
But we're in questions right now, aren't we?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're in
are we? Oh,
Yeah.
I have no questions.
Okay. So, all right, Commissioner Uli, questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, Commissioner Nemec, questions?
No.
All right, Commissioner Vena, questions?
No.
All right, Commissioner House,
Okay,
questions?
well, I got some
All right.
questions. So the existing lintels
Oh, that's mine.
in the front of the house, are those wood?
Pointers?
Yes, they're wood.
Those are wood. Yet you are doing some things back here that project 8 inches, and what are they?
Yeah, it probably didn't come up in the last meeting, but it did prior. And I don't think you were at either meeting. This is a concrete structure. It is not framed or anything like that. So,
But then the concrete gets plastered and painted? or-
no, the concrete's going to have the same kind of finish. It'll be a
That's
mineral
cone
paint
Okay. Over plaster on top of the concrete? or
on top
just-
of the concrete,
Okay.
directly on top. And then we have this, aged iron element around the building in different places, and so we felt that this was a good place to introduce it, just so that we're keeping with the context, but also acknowledging the differences between the historic resource
Have
and the
a
addition.
detail of that.
We will provide that in our next round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you spoke of a mineral paint, is this what we're looking at, like a lime paint that blooms naturally, or are you doing a glaze over a base coat? or
It's
what
a
are you
silicate
doing?
paint.
A silicate. It's basically a more stable version of. Silica paints is a more stable version of lime paint, so it lasts
Okay.
longer. And
Does it bloom naturally like that, or do you do a glaze over a base coat?
the bluing comes especially if you mix iron oxide paints with white. So, and I tried it with different whites, and you get the same effect.
Okay, so it's not a glaze, it's not it's not a two-step process. You put it on and you work it, and then it comes up with that
Yes.
look. Okay. Okay. I think those are the only questions I have.
Okay, Commissioner Mahan, questions?
Is the siding on the garage, is that existing siding?
Here, let's.
No,
This new siding?
it is not existing.
Horizontal boards, let's see if I can get to the right page, yeah.
It's new siding.
A1C,
A1C. All right, back one here.
that's new siding?
Correct. It matches our fence.
Why wouldn't the
But it's
garage be of the same materials that the house is? Why are we going to a
Right,
different?
right now, the garage is siding, wood siding.
Yeah.
it's basically the identical dimension on this. It's only basically a repair of the existing siding
But you're
because
doing new siding, right?
it's rotten, so you need to replace
I
it.
understand, but
So,
if the
but
house is stucco and concrete, which kind of looks like stucco, I'm not going to get into a comment, but I just was
Would you
asking.
like to know
That is
the
new
re-
siding, this is a new surface to the existing garage.
Would you like to know the reason?
Sure.
The reason is that the fences surrounding the property will be the same material, and the garage is very narrow, and it's right on the property line. So the idea is to let it kind of disappear into the perimeter and let the landscaping be the hero in front of the building.
Yay,
Okay.
landscaping.
Any other questions? Nope. Commissioner Edmonds, questions?
I have a question for staff. When a project like this initially comes to the city, Does a card or a notice go out to the neighbors? Because I get one in my neighborhood, and so I'm curious to know if the neighbors were noticed and had an opportunity to comment.
So our noticing, so everything is posted online via an agenda. So it is available to the public anytime there is a hearing. The formal 10-day mailed notice, those are only for specific levels of review. So if it doesn't meet one of those standards, for example, a new single-family residence where there wasn't one prior, that is an example of where we would send out a 10-day mailed notice that goes out in addition to the posted agenda. This particular project did not have a 10-day mailed notice; it wasn't required.
And a mod would require
A modification would require a 10-day mailed notice. If you were to do a brand new second story, something like that.
So I'm curious, sorry, but we had one that's been on the consent calendar recently that's, I've had to recuse myself because it's close to me, but it was just adding a bathroom.
Yes, so I believe the one you're referring to, that one was requiring a modification. And because that's a separate land use approval, that's an automatic trigger for a 10-day mailed notice.
Thank you. But neighbors have had an opportunity to go online and look at this if they want.
Yeah, so neighbors are able to watch the tapes, look at any agendas, anything like that.
If they were aware.
If they were aware of it.
If they were aware.
Exactly.
They weren't necessarily.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now I have a question for the owner. Do your neighbors know about the project, and are they supportive?
Of course, and they also showed them the color sample, and everyone is supportive of it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, so.
I did have one more
All right,
question.
fire away.
Your windows, are they custom windows that you're painting, or are they, I think I am on, or are they pre-finished?
The windows that are being replaced on the original house are wood-clad windows with a custom paint color.
Aluminum clad?
Yes.
Okay, so is that a standard color?
No, it's
so
custom
you're having
finish.
a custom color on the aluminum. Okay. Okay.
All right.
And then the windows on the new structure are steel.
Oh. Okay. And what's the finish on those windows?
Same.
Painted.
Same as the
match that.
same green color.
Okay.
Okay, I had a question. Let's see. There it is. Start with A1. Okay, so this, so this is the back deck here, is that right?
Those are the planters at the back deck that form the guardrail.
Okay, and those are new, or this design is new?
That has been there from the beginning.
Okay, and then this is the side of it?
That's
No.
existing. That's what it looks
Gotcha,
like
gotcha.
now.
Sorry.
With an old.
So that's this one here, and then, okay. So then the side of this is, maybe there's some, maybe we can do this in perspective better. It might be
No, this one.
easier, but that's here.
Yes.
Correct.
And then this is a planter coming off
Yes.
at an angle like that?
Yes.
And what is that material?
That's
Steel?
aged iron.
Okay. And then, can we look at that in perspective?
Yes.
Is that like a Corten or just a mild steel?
It could be either a thick steel or Corten, and it would basically look the same once it's aged. But that's the view of it, and you can see a little bit here.
All right. Okay. And then, let's see so then this is the, wait, is this the garage?
That's the garage.
Okay. That's the garage. And its color is the wood. So it's gonna be this wood color to match, and that's gonna match the other wood.
Correct.
Okay.
age.
What is the finish on that? I mean, is it a paint finish or is it stain?
It's Kumaru.
Yeah,
It's
so it doesn't need.
it's got natural inhibitors, so you don't need to do anything to it.
Kumaru is the name of the finish?
It's the name of the wood
Name
species.
of the wood. So is it tropical hardwood or something?
It is, yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're having that custom milled for siding? Or
No, it's sustainably harvested and available.
Interesting.
Is it as a siding or is it as a plank, a sideways plank? Meaning, is there like is it lapped siding or is it
T&G or?
It's a rain screen, so it has little clips behind it that hold it in
So
place.
there's gaps between the.
Very small little gaps, but it really just looks like a tongue and groove. That's done.
Shiplap.
Tongue and groove. Yeah.
Yeah, or shiplap looks.
Yeah.
Shiplap sometimes has each one beveled.
Bevel
this-
siding.
No, that's clabbered.
Okay.
Yeah, or bevel siding.
We get into our siding here.
Yeah. It's really
Proper terminology.
exciting.
Okay. Right. So, and then this is the change that you did from horizontal to vertical on the.
Correct. So now it's lowered down to guardrail height
Okay.
instead of being a taller screen and simplified.
Okay. And then this piece here with the stone, flamed stone wrapping here,
Yes.
what's that distance off the wall? Is it just like a clad?
It'll be, well, it was already a reveal in the last submittals. So this was already, this base was already thickened. And the new finish will add maybe up to an inch of thickness. So before it was 2 inches, we're adding an inch, so it's about 3 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, well, one thing maybe we should mention is the whole thing is got thicker because the
Correct.
back of the building is structurally not very sound, and so the whole back wall presently is bending outwards and is not very stable. So the front part of the building looks very stable, but the back wall is not stable. So that's why we want to replace it with something more structurally sound.
Gotcha. So you're sort of furring out. You're building out a new wall. Okay. Okay. So that's all of my questions.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner.
So
House.
the fence is also Kumaru?
Yes.
And is that around 3 sides of the property or what?
Yes, except where we have the earth blocks that are just on the east side.
Oh, okay. Somewhere over here.
See those in this rendering.
Masonry fence.
It's right here. You won't see it much because there's landscaping here. We didn't include any trees.
Okay.
So that's less than 2 feet from the house.
Okay. And is that existing or is that proposed?
That's proposed.
Okay. What's existing?
Like a,
Chain link.
Okay.
and a 12-foot hedge. Maybe taller.
Yeah, no, it's not so tall anymore.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move into comments? Okay. And so I think it would be good to, you can bring up, I mean, this is going for project design approval, and findings, neighborhood preservation ordinance findings and historic resource findings need to be made. So if there are other, I think that it's important to address the 4 comments, well, one of which is not necessary, but the 3 of the comments need to be addressed. And then as well, if there is anything else that you see, now is the time to bring it up because this is for project design approval. So once this is passed, then it's just a matter of basic articulation of how that.
What are the 4?
goes. So they were the main. So our comments were the main body and window trim
Oh,
colors.
I see, okay.
Yep.
Oh, on the minutes, I see.
Yeah. So there are other things can be brought up too, but we do want to try to converge with our items. So, but if you do see something else, you can bring it up. The main body and window trim colors shown on the color board are not acceptable. So the color needs to be weighted on. The windows, as proposed, need work to be more compatible with the front portion of the house, with casements as options, and should have lintels to match the front portion of the house as well. 3, the articulation on the back wall, the south elevation is acceptable, so that one's okay. And 4, the back deck on the west elevation needs to be less contemporary with vertical wood members rather than horizontal. So those are our comments from last time. If there are any other comments that need to be especially design approval related, I think we need to bring them up now. So,
I have one more question.
Yeah, Commissioner Edmonds.
In the wall that we were just discussing, and you said there was a 12-foot hedge, which is lower now, and the hedge is on your property, not on your neighbor's property, and has the neighbor agreed that that hedge should go?
Yes, neighbor actually helped me cutting it down.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right, so why don't we start, Commissioner House, do you want to start us off with some comments?
Okay. Well, I'm fine with what you're doing, pushing the envelope a little bit, but considering it's at the back of the house, and it does have a family relationship with the architecture of the front house. As far as the garage, I think somewhere in our guidelines it says that all structures on a site should be of similar materials and architecture, but considering this is a flat roof garage and the fence is all of that material, I think that's reads more of a piece. So I'm not concerned about the different material on the garage. I think the main thing to address is the colors. I had a concern that your preferred choice is a little too raspberry, and when it's out in the sun and it's a large expanse, it's kind of bright and lively, and I would prefer to see it a little bit more muddy, but I think that you've got this well under control, and I'm sure you're going to kind of adjust things to your liking after you do some bigger test areas on the building, but that would be my advice, to make it a little bit muddier. I think the other samples are too dark and too orange, but I like basically where you're going with it. Let's see, what were the other areas? So colors, the windows, I'm fine with. The back wall, the back deck, yeah, I'm fine with everything you've done.
All right, Commissioner Urbina.
I like the composition. I think it's come a long ways, and I think it's going to be a lovely addition to the neighborhood. And I like the architecture and the colors that have been selected. And as Steve said, Commissioner Steve, I think that with his suggestions, I think it'll tone it down a little bit and make it a little bit more appealing.
Okay, Commissioner Mahan.
Yeah, I think that item 4, 3, and 2 are acceptable to me. I think the color is still too, I would use the word chroma. It has too much chroma, meaning it's too bright, it's too raw. It needs to, if you want to reduce a red, you put some green in it, and that cuts it back, that grays it. You use the word muddy.
Yeah.
And I would use the word graying it needs to come down. And
add the complement, make it a tertiary color.
Yeah, exactly. You add the complement to reduce the chroma. But the comment that you made that as colors get bigger, they become brighter.
Yeah.
And this is pretty bright, just on a 12 by 12 inch slab, and I want to see it be more residential in nature and not be glaring in the neighborhood. But I like the red. I mean, I like going in that direction. I just don't think it just doesn't. It's not here yet. This is still where we need to go more that way. And the same thing is true with the green. The little sample there that you chiseled off, which is more of a turquoise than the bright green. Yeah, the one on the I think that green needs to go the same way. It needs to have some red put in it to brown it down a little bit. But other than that, I think that this is ready for design approval, and the colors can be worked out.
Okay, Commissioner Nemec. Comments?
I agree on those comments with the colors. That's fine with everything else.
All right. Mr. Color Man?
One of the things about color is that the bigger the area, the more saturated it gets. Not so much brighter, it just gets more saturated.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing more of it. I noticed on the back you have Venetian red. You might just mix up a little bit of Indian red. Am I not plugged in? Got all that wisdom.
start all over
All
again.
that wisdom just gone into the ether. Indian red is just a little cooler, and I think part of the
Yeah, I got samples of Venetian red and Indian red, and actually the Venetian red I got was the cooler one.
oh yeah.
So it's so variable from where you get your pigments from.
Well, Indian red might give you it's a little bit more recessive, generally lifted with white than Venetian red. So you might just play with that. I mean, I think we're talking about a very narrow range of choices here. I don't agree with Commissioner Mahan. We agree on almost everything, whiskey and so on. But in terms of the green, I think that this is exactly what's necessary, because this is going to be the color of the lintel and the trim, and this is all going to fade with time. And I think that you need something that's mildly aggressive against this big area of this particular color.
Just to clarify, the lintels are going to be the wood color?
Yeah, they're not painted. The lintels are not painted that color.
Just
The trim.
Just so, yeah.
Trim. Thank you. And then the other color that goes with it, that that wraps around behind, I think it's a really lovely color.
Yeah, that Adobe.
Yes, it's a recessive color, but because it's higher in value, it holds its place against all this stuff. I think this is all going to work out just fine, and it may just come back to. Will it come back to us?
I'd be fine with them just fine-tuning it on their own.
Okay, and then just go to consent?
Because, short of going out to the site to see a 4x4
I
square
know,
of it,
I know.
I don't think we can.
Well, I
sit
think
further
this has
judgment.
come a long ways from 2 weeks ago, as we say, but it really has. It's much less aggressive. That was really kind of a knock in the neighborhood, but I think this is going to be just fine. And I think all the other parts that we had to comment on are just excellent.
Commissioner Edmonds?
I agree with all those comments. I've struggled with the color since the beginning of my involvement, and I think this has come a long way. And just to put it in my own simple terms, I think if you can mute it down a little bit, it would, I think, be better for everyone. Because you're right, that's going to be a huge amount of color, considering all the space that it's going to cover. But no, I agree. I think it could go to consent. And I like it, all the changes you've made.
All right. Commissioner Uli?
I agree with most of all of the other comments, and I don't have any particular issue with any of the items in the comment of the motion. But I'm not afraid of the darker color. This is a little bright for me. So I'm not opposed to that darker color.
This one?
Yeah. But I'm also comfortable kind of let them work it out in the field, because that's the way it's going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I don't have any other comments to add. So,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for
and
project design approval.
We'll need you to make.
And then Commissioner Mahan and Chair Grumbine said these are the findings that you'll need to make the historic resource and neighborhood preservation findings.
Project design approval with the comments, the general comment that the commission would still like to see the color studied further in terms of its reducing its brightness. And making these comments, historical resource, the project will not cause a substantial adverse change in the significance of an historical resource. And neighborhood preservation findings, the consistency and appearance, the neighborhood is okay, the compatibility with the existing houses is acceptable, quality of architecture and materials is acceptable, trees are not an issue, health, safety, and welfare is not an issue. The good neighborhood guidelines are not an issue because it's an existing house with a small addition on the back, and the public views will not be impacted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion
And
and a
then,
second. by
Mr.
Drury?
Chair, I had
Yes.
2 questions. One, would you like this to return to consent for final approval?
Are you comfortable? It seems like there's a comfort level for that, so yep.
And then I just want to clarify, since it is project design approval and you're approving the design, would the motion maker be comfortable with it saying that the proposed color that the applicant has been presented is acceptable? However, the commission would like a slightly reduced brightness to return to
Right.
consent.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So we have under discussion. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right. Motion carries unanimously. This can be appealed
And
within 10 days. All right.
Chair, if you have a few minutes, I got this from Ms. Plummer. This is the design.
They found the wayfinding.
Oh, all right.
It's found its
They
way.
found,
All right.
it found its way.
Great. Congratulations.
Go to work.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, did you formally adjourn the meeting?
Oh, do we?
I think that can
That
just be
can wait.
talked
Okay.
about.
Yes. All right. The meeting is adjourned.